Welcome to the finals of the CIT 3 tournament. We're playing color order AC. We have two fine contestants in Ben Rothman and Steve Forster. They played in a block of 6 and were the winners to get here. Ben, describe how you got here, please.
I had 4 wins out of 5 with 2 triple peels. My only loss to Stephen Forster.
And Stephen?
I had 3 out of 6 wins with 3 triples.
Five games.
Out of 5 games, yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
Better ratio. Okay, so they are our 2 finalists. Let's play ball. Who won?
I won the toss and I've taken second play.
Okay. Ben, what color is you playing?
Blue-black.
Okay, here we go. All right, so Ben is going to play in first. He's blue and black. It doesn't matter what color the team who goes in first plays. What matters is the color of the second ball that the second team plays, and I'll describe that as we go. So Ben is going to B block. Marks in his ball 1 yard.
That's the one that gets me.
And shoots the ball in front of hoop 2. This would not be something you would do in a normal AC game. So this is what Ben has worked out over the 6 days we've been together playing color order. Now, Stephen has a choice of red or yellow. Normally, in the traditional game, you wouldn't care if they're round. Yes. Ben saying, well, here's a new opening. Anyway, here's what goes on now. Let's suppose Stephen hits blue. Okay? Black will be forced to play next. Black can go to yellow and then blue, but he can't go to blue and then yellow. That's the influence of color order. Okay, and he hits. Now, what's interesting is to see what he does next. Notice a side saddle stance, which he's been doing for 50 years. Okay. So he's rolling both balls. Into the center of the lawn. And he's trying to give them to wire blue for most convenient shots. No. We're trying to wire yellow for most convenient shots. Forcing Ben to shoot at blue because he can't then go to yellow. Stephen. My analysis here of your opening is that you were trying to hide yellow and have him shoot at blue.
Yes, yep. So I'm hoping that if he hits the incorrect ball, that he can't use my other ball. So he probably needs to shoot at yellow to hit this, to be able to play on to try and make a 3-ball break. Okay.
But you'll see that even if he hits yellow and can go to blue, how do you establish a 3-ball break? And in color order, it's a challenge because red is in the color order but not in the game. So Ben hits the best ball. And if this were a traditional game, Ben would plan to run 9. Okay, set a 3 ducks or a diagonal, and hope to have a 5th turn triple. But that ain't so easy here. Okay, after yellow, remember the color order would be blue. But after blue, there's no red to go to.
He'll be setting the rush up for blue.
And as Danny just said, he believes Ben will be setting a rush for blue to 1.
Or to yellow.
Or to yellow.
I think to yellow.
And Danny thinks to yellow. Let's see.
It's the only time he knows.
Yeah. Right. Danny points out this is the only time Ben will know this entire game which ball Steven's going to play, because he must bring red into the game.
Blue would have color order.
I'll take it to you. Finish biting. Pete's offered to help, and Danny's adding commentary, which is helpful too.
I'm adding commentary with my mouth.
I won't say that.
So a minute ago when Stephen was laying the 2 balls, if he'd rushed the blue to where he'd ended up with it, he could have left the balls in contact with blue and yellow pointing towards hoop 1, so that if so Ben could see very little of yellow, and that way if Ben hit blue hard, it would knock yellow down near hoop 1, but Ben wouldn't be able to make use of yellow. So that would have been a nice leave for Stephen to have, because
So in that
wherever
regard, you would never do that in AC.
exactly,
You
yeah.
never put created the most obvious 2-ball target available. Go ahead, please.
Whereas wherever Ben went, if Stephen was then able to hit that marginal double, then he'd be well set. So there are some really interesting variations with openings.
For people who play AC, this is a very traditional situation to see, where it's not the case here, but black runs the first break and sets a diagonal, and red picks up from the peg and shoots, and in this case misses. So it's Ben to play, and we'll see him certainly hit black. And what's the color order, guys? It's going to be black, yellow, and red. But red is in corner 4. How are we going to get him?
So you'll already be seeing that there's a much stronger emphasis on things like Hogan rolls, because after making hoop 1 off yellow, presumably, when Stephen hits yellow, the next ball round in the sequence will be red because he's playing blue. Sorry, when Ben was made hoop 1 with blue and hit yellow, the next ball round will be the red ball, and so he will often be playing a very big roll stroke, if the long conditions permit it, to get up to his ball at hoop 2. And quite often with triples and things, we found that rather than the standard Hogan roll sending a ball to hoop 3 going to the ball at the Pioneer at hoop 2, where it's actually better to put the ball from corner 4 as the reception ball after hoop 2, so rolling it right up from corner 4 to north of hoop 2 whilst going to that ball. So this game sometimes encourages big roll strokes. There are slight disadvantages occasionally for this game in terms of whether players have the strength and power to do that, but at the top level it makes the game much more challenging and interesting with bigger strokes like that.
But you don't have to do Hogan rolls. But you do have to go to red. Okay, so you can
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
You can kiss red and leave him, or you can try to move him to a useful position. These guys are going to move him to a useful position. But when I play it, I will often just go tap red and take off to my next target. But it does lead to long takeoffs.
I totally agree. Yeah, each player needs to play to their strengths and weaknesses. And what's nice about this final is that we have players with somewhat different strengths and weaknesses. Ben is obviously an incredibly good shot. He's won the Worlds at GC, as well as his successes with AC, winning the British Opens, reaching the final of the World Championships and so on. Whereas I don't think that anyone would say that Stephen's strength is his shooting. He's an incredibly good touch player with his croquet strokes, and obviously a very good tactician as well, of course. So we will see as things play out probably the differences sometimes that come in with the tactics due to the differences between the players. And certainly with the openings, that can make things very interesting when one is a better shot than the other, for how to make best use of that in the openings. So we've seen Ben rush across there. Obviously he's putting black out to the hoop, getting a rush on yellow down to hoop 1. And some players would be thinking ahead to exactly where they want black to be if they're going to play something like a Hogan roll out of corner 4. Black looks like it's in a nice position there. Ben's a very nice, tidy player, of course, and he's very used to these conditions. He knows these tactics just as well as anyone in the world right now, because he wrote the book with Paddy and Howard. So he's very clued up tactically on this game. He's given it plenty of thought, and he's probably the favourite for this game right now.
Okay, we have Pete's prediction, and we're about to get into what they call Howard's favorite position. And the reason this is so useful is sitting there in front of a hoop with the balls in color order, in this case yellow, red, blue, black, you can do the arithmetic of this game, which in less than 60 seconds tells you how to proceed to do whatever it is you want to do. Ben scores hoop 1, picks up his clip. He's going to rush yellow back here. I believe he'll send it toward 3 going to red. And he misses. Very unusual. And Stephen will come on.
That was an interesting moment for me, because I was looking down the line as things were, and I thought, good lord, I always thought Ben had a straight swing, but he's not actually aiming directly at the ball. And then when he missed the ball, I thought, it is that he normally has a dead straight swing. But there's been a lot of concentration this week, so the players are a little bit more jaded than they might usually be after this amount of play, and that's a good thing. So Howard's asking why Stephen didn't play yellow at blue.
Shows the much longer shot. Red.
Yeah. So maybe Stephen has worked out that yellow's in the perfect spot where Ben is unable to ever hit it.
Magnetic field around yellow. Oh my God. I would bet against those 3 misses happening seriatim like that. It would have been very nice for Ben. He could have made that hoop with yellow, or he could have gone to red and done a load and hold. But getting red into play immediately, which would you have done?
Sorry, which position?
Had Ben hit right here. Hit yellow. Okay? Red
Yeah.
corner here. Quarter two.
Yeah, so after yellow playing with blue, the next ball round is red, of course. So that would depend a lot on where he'd knock the yellow to, I guess.
Okay.
If he's just clipped it, then he'd probably take off for his hoop and make it. If not, then he'd be going to red, and he could potentially push red out towards a safe place whilst approaching the hoop. Or if he was feeling very confident on his rolls, he could play a stroke going up beyond black to try and rush black down, but most players would probably not choose that line.
And no need. All right, meanwhile, Steven shot at the ball, his partner ball, yellow at red in corner one. And he's taking croquet. So let's do the functional order. Yellow hit red, who is technically the reception ball. Okay. Now he's going to black. Okay. I don't think he's going to go to blue before making this hoop. And he doesn't need to. So let's think through the color order when he makes this hoop. Okay? Oh, he may be going to blue. Oh, he's for hoop one. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I'm wrong. Yes, that's right. Okay. Thank you, Danny. Should come over here and do this with us. Oh, what a great shot. Okay. So, red was technically the pivot. Pivot gets reception. Reception gets sent to pivot, and now he's going to have the right pioneer at hoop two as he makes this hoop. Go ahead.
So a tremendous takeoff there from Stephen, showing his skills and making good use of them. Most players, myself included, do not have the touch, the confidence to play that stroke to get the rush to one, so I would probably have been rolling black further away from red whilst going to blue. Would decrease the odds of me making hoop one quite considerably, but would have put more distance between the balls. So there was an example of Stephen playing to his strengths and what strengths they are. Very impressive.
Okay, so he's got all four balls. I would be quite surprised if he doesn't run 9. The only decision is when he does the arithmetic, and if he can just run standards in order to set the diagonal, or if he's going to need to do an expedite or a repeat in order to get the balls in the order he wants. So he now has the pioneer. So that was pivot to pioneer. And he'll go back to black and send black from pioneer to reception. Does he need to do anything beyond standards, my friend? When he's at hoop 2?
So I'm not sure whether you've talked them through the method, the arithmetic.
You want to do it?
I'm just finishing off my breakfast. You have worked this out, Howard.
I haven't done it. I'm gonna do it while we're sitting here. We're in Howard's favorite position. Okay, yellow is at hoop 2. When we are 4 hoops forward at hoop 6, we would like partner, which is red, to be the pioneer at 7. Partner is currently the pioneer at 3 in 4 hoops time. He will not be the partner. Yeah, he will not be the pioneer at 7. In fact, he'll be 2 off, and he'll somewhere along the way to getting there or later, but that's a very convenient point. Stephen will need to do a repeat or the equivalent, and we'll maybe see some equivalents. Turns out that repeat and plus standard equals expedite plus expedite, and expedite plus standard equals TAC plus 3 fix. So you don't need to memorize all that, but this should be what is going through Stephen's mind of when to make that correction and with which procedures.
And I'd just add that for those that are still getting used to the terminology that Howard's using, that when Howard says standard as a standard procedure, what he means is that after a hoop needs to hit the reception ball, rather than sending that to the next hoop at 1, that ball's instead being sent to the pivot position, and the old pivot will become the pioneer at the next hoop at 1. And so that's often the easiest way of just getting a break around. You can repeatedly do that after every hoop and play a nice controlled 4-ball break, but of course when you want to switch the balls around, you need a different procedure in order to get the balls in the right orientation for your leave 2/3 of the time.
And when we get there, which I think we will, you'll see Stephen set a diagonal, and there's some unusual things about setting a diagonal in color order that you don't experience in a traditional game, which once again makes it interesting. All right, meanwhile, Stephen has made hoop 3. He sent red. Now he may, I don't know at the moment, whether that's just a long pivot ball or if he is going to use it as the pioneer. And he doesn't have to know yet either. So it's not like using these procedures is locked in stone. It's sort of revealed by what he does that will determine what's going to happen. Okay? But we do know he's going to make hoop 4 with blue. Okay, he's set up to make hoop 4. He's going to hit blue first. He doesn't have to, but unless there was some really good reason not to, he will hit blue, determining the color order as blue, red, black. But let's see what he does with blue. So, blue is the reception ball. The ball hit first after the hoop. It determines color order. What he does with blue will determine which procedure he's actually using. I think he's going to send blue to 6. Okay, so he's sending the reception ball from 4 to be the pioneer at 6. So ding, ding, ding. That is advancing blue 2 functions, which could either be the traditional or it could be the expedite. It depends on what he does with the other balls. Okay? So I believe he has sent the pivot ball to reception, and now he'll send the Pioneer to pivot, so he will have done an expedite. He will have advanced the ball's 2 functions. Because when I was doing the arithmetic, so was he, and he realized that he needed to do a repeat, but it turns out that a repeat plus a standard is the same as 2 expedites. So let's see what he does now.
This is because you're considering the diagonal spread, is that right, Howard?
Yes.
So, of course, the interesting thing here is that Ben has already made hoop 1 with blue. So, arguably, there are better leaves here that could be chosen, or at least different options that could be chosen. And sometimes with colour order, there can be an even stronger emphasis with leaves and put more pressure on players.
So once again, we see him, striker, yellow, sending a ball, the reception ball, to forward. So he sent partner from reception to Pioneer. He's now going to send the Pioneer to reception, and then he's going to load and hold blue, a teeny little load and hold, from Pioneer to pivot. And he will have the balls in the color order he needs in order to just use standards to set the diagonal.
And your guess is probably correct that he will go for the diagonal spread, but he may have something else in mind. All sorts of possible leaves from here, of course. So with blue for hoop 2, I would expect that Ben will be quite keen to play with blue, because there's so much emphasis on trying for standard triples compared with delayed triples, and there's real emphasis on at least getting 1 peel at 4 back, because you have to peel your first ball going through 4 back unless you're peeling the opponent through 4 back. So a nice leave here would have been to... Sorry, Ben's just telling me something.
But if I want to go for the TPO, I prefer
Yeah.
that ball at 2.
And Ben's just pointing out that if he's going for the TPO, then he prefers his other ball at 2. So there are lots of considerations. But if I'd been in this position, I think a nice leave would have been to have black just behind hoop 1, which is red's hoop, blue up, near hoop 2, and Stephen could have put the balls even on the south boundary near corner 4, where there's a very strong emphasis for Ben to then play black, but whichever he could lay the balls with a particular orientation, so that even if Ben hits his 13-yarder, he's then got to go up to the ball at 2 before coming back to the other ball. So there are some wonderful leaves out there for this game that take quite a bit of thought first about what leave you want, but then how you're going to actually achieve it by playing in colour order.
And you want to set a good leave. So a good diagonal without all of Peter's embellishments, which he can do. If I were doing this, I would just focus on getting a really good diagonal. Even if it lets Ben play the ball he wants to, he's got to accomplish it.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's what the attitude Reg Bamford may very well hold himself playing this game. He'll just have diagonal spreads every time, and be highly successful doing that. And Chris Clark himself, used to teach me, a diagonal spread is never wrong. But occasionally I think there are improvements and interesting things that can come out.
Absolutely. I'm going to show one change in setting the diagonal. Okay. Notice that partner red, after one back, was sent through the peg. If you're a traditionalist playing AC, you would have had partner at two back. Okay. That doesn't happen here. It gets it into a very inconvenient color order.
This happens a lot in traditional AC too. Add partner at one.
You know, Ben's pointing out that this can happen in traditional for sure. Nothing wrong with it, but it does decrease the number of adjustments you get on the ball with the peg.
Again, it goes a bit to strengths. Intriguingly, this is the method that Robert Fulford would use with his standard AC to get his diagonal spread. Although most top players prefer partner at two back, Robert has found that he's incredibly consistent at being able to get that rush back from two back. And because he's so consistent, a lot of players don't even bother to watch Rob making diagonal spreads. They don't even realise that he does that, because they see him in play and they just go, oh, he'll have whatever leave he chooses. Now, the intriguing thing, I think, with this game is that because of the colour order, rather than a diagonal spread as you would see in a book or most often on a lawn, Stephen will actually leave himself at the end. Rather than with a rush to the other balls, he will leave himself a rush to hoop one. And that's because otherwise the ball that he would be rushing red to play after, when he's had his leave, if Ben were to miss, then red will be hitting yellow, and the next ball in sequence would be blue. So by blue moving away, taking a long shot through into corner four, for instance, it would mean that Stephen wouldn't have a ball that he could sensibly rush to and to make use of. For that reason, it's much more powerful to leave a rush to hoop one at the end of this leave, but with the potential to cut it to other balls in some circumstances.
Yeah, really aiming it toward five, probably, so that you can go to the peg if you need to, ball, or you can actually rush it all the way to one. So it makes it just a little bit more difficult getting started.
And it also means that the ball over to the west of the lawn tends to be a bit further in, more of a hoop two pioneer.
Okay, so coming out here of hoop 9, Stephen's going to finish the diagonal, which means sending black to his final resting place, which I think he likes sort of 2/3 of the way along the line between hoop 1 to hoop 2. And he is forced to go after that to blue to stay in color order. In the traditional game, if blue happens to already be at the peg where you want him, you can just get off the lawn with red. You can't do that here because you must follow color order. So it just gives you one chance to screw things up if things were already perfect. Okay. Yeah, that's about 2/3 of the way. Touches blue. Now, of course, he wants to wire blue from black and hamper blue by the peg as he gets off the lawn with red. And then we'll see what Pete has forecasted is that he is setting up for red to play, but rather than having red have a rush on yellow to blue, he'll have a rush probably aimed at hoop 5 or even aimed more at hoop 1.
So a nice turn there from Stephen. Kept himself nicely out of trouble all the way, as we would expect. Of course, these conditions are ideal for running breaks round, so this is a really good test of the colour order AC. because under these conditions we would usually expect players to just get the one shot opportunity, and that's what's made normal AC a little bit dull, and a little bit not quite as good a test of players' skills as we would like. So whether a top player can take out a world championship should not depend on just one or two shots and whether they happen to hill on or hill off. This is a bit more stretching mentally and physically, and we'll likely see after Ben's shot, if Ben were to miss, then we may see some of that stretching happening during Stephen's break. With these ideal conditions of such flat, even-paced lawns, there are still good odds of triple peel, but there's less scope for errors, and interesting things start to happen when errors are coming into the game. It can require a complete rejig and playing some strokes that you wouldn't normally choose to play.
Yeah, so if Stephen gets to run a standard triple and gets the 4-back peel done, this becomes pretty easy for him. It gets much more interesting if the standard really drifts into a delayed. So Ben is going to take a shot down the line, and with blue. So team, which ball does he want to hit?
Well, certainly the yellow, because if he hit the red, he would have to go next to black. So there's a lot more shooting of the in-lawn ball than you would get with normal AC, and then of course, although he's then going to red next, it's harder to get behind that, even if Ben has hit. In this case he's missed, but if he'd hit that yellow and knocked it down to the south boundary, then it's much harder to then get a rush on red where he wants, so that would be an immediate difference.
Alright, now we put ourselves in Stephen's mind. Okay. Blue is in corner 4 or close to. He wants to play red for sure. He's going to hit yellow. What does he do next? This is what Pete was describing, that if he had to go to blue because he couldn't get to 1, this would be very difficult. But he foresaw this possibility, and so Stephen's going to rush yellow to 1. So this is a 2-ball procedure. And what's interesting about a 2-ball procedure is it is like a repeat in that the balls will have their same function. So when the minute Stephen hit red, red became the reception and created the color order yellow, blue, black. Well, with 2-ball here, he sets up, and it's going to be the same thing. He's going to come through and hit yellow, and it's going to be yellow, blue, black. But he's physically in different positions. Now he's got to hit yellow. And he does.
So, of course, with normal AC, from this position you might well send yellow to 3, get a rush on black. I'll stop speaking for a minute because there's a helicopter. So rather than sending yellow to 3 going to black that he wouldn't be allowed to use, he's instead gone very powerfully to blue, and that's just gone off the lawn. So rather than getting this opportunity to play a Hogan roll, going out to black, which would have been quite a testing stroke.
Like I planned it.
Ben has just commented that this is just as he planned.
Now, so as nice as these lawns are, they certainly slope off at the edges. And Stephen may not be as familiar with this lawn as we are, but that he got caught by that and he hit it just a little bit too hard. All right, so Ben will play. And it's pretty clear he's going to play blue since it's right by red. Okay. How does Ben get going when blue is on 2, is it? I can't see. Is blue on 2?
Yes.
Blue's clip is on 2. Okay, well, he has a pioneer there. How nice. So I think he's good to go because he'll just use red and black to make 2. He's got yellow in good position. But he will probably, well, let's see what he does. He can rush red to the west. Right.
Oh, I thought it'd gone off in the corner.
Yeah.
Well, that's very handy. I thought at first that red had gone off in the corner, and that would have meant that to get red to 3, it would have been Ben playing the Hogan roll. But as it is, it stopped just short, and that meant it went out just short of the ball. And that means that Ben's been able to rush red out. He can send that to 3, and he's got the balls in colour order just as he would like. So he's got the opportunity here, if he chooses, rather than just going to 4-back, to do a TPO or an NZ TPO.
Now, one thing interesting is that if Ben followed the standard procedure here, okay, he would be sending red not to pioneer but to pivot, okay? But he's not going to use 3 balls here. He's intentionally he's not going to use all 3 balls. He's only going to use 2, okay? And therefore we call this the 3-ball procedure, where you take the reception ball, send him to pioneer, go to a second ball and make the hoop.
Yeah, so after this hoop, he's got the balls exactly as he would like them, because he can send black down to hoop 4, send yellow over and put it in peeling position, and then make the hoop with red. And the crucial thing is that peeling yellow through 4-back after the hoop, after yellow, because he's playing blue, the next ball is red. And so it's crucial that he has the balls in this order, that black would be, its partner ball would be the one down at hoop 4. Now if black and red were the other way around, then it could technically still be played, but in order to get a ball down to 4, he would have to approach hoop 3 with a big stop shot. So that would put you right off the TPOing option. As it is, Ben totally has that choice, and sounds like he's keen for it.
About now, right? We're going to find out, because it would be yellow that he would peel, right? And so he could send black to 4, go to yellow. Now, what would be the escape ball if he's peeling yellow? Okay, with blue as striker, okay, after yellow, he would have to go to red. Red's already over there. So he could rush yellow over, peel him, and escape with red and keep going, and we'd know we'd be in a TPO, which would be fun. I think he may do it.
It was an interesting stroke there. He's rushed yellow quite a long way. I'd have been inclined to rush it to very close to peeling positions that I could just dink it, and red's a good enough pioneer that he could have positioned yellow very accurately, I would have thought. But each player has their own method of doing these kind of things. Sometimes one of us thinks that we've got a slightly better method than someone else, but each their own.
So I guess he's looking on where he can croquet yellow too. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I know Ben in that position for peeling. I hadn't seen him do it for, but peeling is a croquet shot. But I haven't seen him do it here. But it makes real sense. You've got to can't hit red, and that's a great shot. That's a great shot. That's in peel position. Okay. Makes the hoop and goes to yellow. So this is a load and hold. What procedure did he use? Expedite.
My thread's going a bit, so I'll swap the chain.
Sure. Thank you. Comes through, taps red, centers him probably a little better, but he would have loved to have gotten behind. Center taps yellow. Sorry, I get dyslexic in colors. Probably would have liked to get behind him to rush him forward a little bit, but this is totally fine. All right, here goes the peel attempt. Ben stalks it carefully. Interesting to see what type of shot he uses for this, because he'd like the rush on red. So I think it's just a drive shot. Here he goes. Peel done. Picks up yellow's clip. Has red right there as the escape. Now, what does he do? Okay, he's now thinking of the next peel. And he can send red to 5. Going to black, and then he will have black, yellow, red to get yellow to 6, and he'll be in position, or be positioning for the second peel, just using standards. Hope he doesn't convince himself to do something fancier, because it's not necessary. I was saying I thought he could get to the penultimate peel of yellow just using standards.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Ben's given this so much thought. Occasionally with this game, our brains just break a little bit. And maybe that's just been a moment for Ben, but I would very much expect him to play this just as he would to start with a normal triple peel under AC conditions. He can rush red down the lawn. He's got ideal position to send this to 5, make the hoop off black. But the crucial thing is that he must get a rush on black back up the lawn because he needs to go to yellow before red. So there's a little bit more emphasis at that point on obtaining that rush. He doesn't want to be going into black after hoop 4, something like that. And then he can push black and yellow across near hoop 6, ready for the peel.
In fact, there's a lot of literature in AC where you're in this position having peel partner instead of opponent, and suppose you don't see your way to rush black up the lawn. You don't have to. You make hoop 5 just using the 2 balls, sending the reception ball at 4 to Pioneer at 6, and then you must go get Peely and move him over after that. Here you don't have that choice. Color order says Ben's going to hit black. He doesn't have to, but he's going to. And he gets the rush up, which is wonderful. And he'll rush it up there, send it to 6, get the hunt behind yellow, rush it over, come down to red, and be ready for the second peel after 6.
And of course he still maintains the colour order just as he would like, because after hoop 5, after red, he'll go black and then yellow as the peelee. So he's really in an ideal position. Maybe a minute ago when he was just having that pause after the peel, he was just giving us an opportunity to admire the position of the balls and to let you know what a great position he was in to complete this as a fairly flowing standard triple peel. But you'll see after the peel that things become just slightly different again.
Now, he can send black, get the rush on yellow, and attempt the peel immediately. Okay? If he gets it in front of Penholt, nothing in color order prevents it. So remember, black was the reception ball. He's going to send reception to pivot, pivot to Pioneer. So yellow's the pivot ball. He also is the peelee. And red is technically the Pioneer at 5. So he rushes it over and short. So he'll push it a little further over, going to red. Now when he comes out of here, he'll go red, black, yellow, and put yellow from Pioneer to reception for the peel.
Now, of course, with these peels, the crucial thing is to keep thinking, when I've done my peel, what's the next ball that I will be hitting? So here he's playing blue, a striker. He's going to be peeling yellow. So the next ball in sequence after the yellow will be red, not black. So here we see the difference. Although with normal AC, you'd think, hey, there's nothing difficult to do right now. You'd normally just be making hoop 5, sending red as the Pioneer to 1 back and have perfect control on things. Not only does he... so in this case, as he does the peel with the yellow ball, he then needs to hit red next. So there's a bit of thought required about swapping these balls over.
And the real question is, presuming he has control to do it, where would he like to put red? Okay. And my bet is it's going to be just left and south of Penholt, so we could peel, come through, and use red to get to Pioneer at 8.
So forward rush has become a little bit more crucial in this game to save all the big rolls that are necessary. So here he can rush red up close to where he wants it as the escape ball, then rush black away, and stop that over to 1 back going to his peely. Doesn't make the game more difficult at this point, of course. It's perfectly playable at this level, but it's an extra thing to think about. It's another. It's something that we'll get very used to as players, but the constraints mean that you need to not run into trouble. You know, if he wired himself on black, then he can't just hit yellow at this point. So it concentrates the mind in some ways. It's quite good.
So black goes from pivot to pioneer at 7, as Ben gets a rush on yellow, which is the pioneer ball for 6. So he's going to rush it south of 6, croquet it to peel position, so it's going to go from pioneer to reception. Just the standard procedure. Looks pretty good to me. A little longer, I think, than he wanted, but no problem. Okay. Hopefully he can still touch yellow. He asked his opponent whether he wanted to watch the shot. Steven said no. Touches yellow. Now he'll do the peel, or attempt it, ideally coming south of red. So yellow is the reception ball. It's important to know because if he were to not complete the peel, okay, especially if it bounces off, so it's not jawsed, it converts to being, if he uses a standard procedure, reception to pivot, which allows another attempt at the peel as a transit peel, where you peel the pivot ball. It gets more difficult if it's a pivot ball and you do a transit peel, and that ball, the peelee, becomes technically the pioneer if you were going to continue with standards. Here comes the peel attempt. And he draws us, I think. Is that rush peelable?
Looks like it to me. Which makes a big difference, of course. So, of course, he's going to send red down as a pioneer for 2 back, go to black after the hoop. Because Ben has effectively put that reception ball as what you could regard as a pivot, that peelee, then after the hoop, Ben can go from black to yellow and then come down to the red ball at 2 back. It gets a little bit unpleasant then, because the natural thing will have been to send black to 3 back after 1 back, and yellow would be remaining as the kind of pivot in the middle of the lawn. What that means is that when Ben has made 2 back off red, then the next ball round in the sequence after red is black, and black's at 3 back, so he needs a sort of 3 ball break to fix things, what we call a 3 fix, without using yellow. So normally, of course, you'd, assuming that he's managed he'd managed the peel already, or if he gets this rush peel, then you would expect to see players with AC getting that extra movement of yellow after 2-back, and they'd potentially get the peel going to 3-back. Ben won't have that opportunity, and he wouldn't have that opportunity even if he'd peeled yellow already on that stroke that happened just now. He may have had the opportunity to peel it going to 2-back if he'd peeled it really nicely down near Rover, but he won't get that usual opportunity to peel it through Rover going to the ball at 3-back. So we'll see this play out now as Ben plays these strokes. Of course, we expect him to continue round, but what it means is that he's almost certain to be peeling yellow straight. Okay.
And I agree with that, in that, it's a little long, not a huge problem, not what he really wants. We'll discuss organizing the Rover peel in a second, but Pete's gone through some of the trials and tribulations that occur in color order that don't occur in a traditional AC game. And then we'll have to think through the peg out, which has similar trials and tribulations. All good fun. All right, so he makes hoop 7. Has a nice rush on black. Okay. And the question is, what's he going to do with it? Okay. And I believe it's going to be what Pete said, is he's going to send black from reception to pioneer. And immediately the alarm bells go ding, ding, ding. We're not advancing it 1 functional step, we're advancing it 2. And we know we're going to have to fix that later. Now we could make this into an expedite, but it's not very convenient. So the right thing to do here is to send black to 9, go to yellow, rush peel yellow, move yellow down some, going to red, and then play red black and skip yellow. That's a nice shot.
So we still very much expect Ben to finish here, of course. We're seeing how with this game the standard triple is still relatively easy manoeuvre when you've thought through what you're doing and you know to switch the balls when you're for 6 and so on. It's more when things just go a little bit out of place that it can really complicate the game a lot more. So he has an option here that he could try rolling yellow down behind 2-back, come into red if he'd rush this ball further through, because he could then of course attempt to rush back after 2-back and have a speculative go at the peel, go into red before sending that up to 4-back, but instead he's sending it down as a pioneer for 3-back, it looks like.
So let's see where he ends up when he's at 8, and let's do the arithmetic for what he needs to do to get the Rover peel done. Not quite sure what he's doing here, but he's definitely going to red.
So this makes a lot of sense actually. He's going to make 2-back off red, then of course he'll go to black that he can put somewhere near Rover, make 3 back off yellow, and then he gets his opportunity to rush across after 3 back. Ooh, hold on. That still feels wrong. No, he puts... Sorry, after... after 2 back, he puts red to rover, and he can send black up to 4 back, make 3 back off yellow, rushing it in front of rover if he plays really well. So he's created an opportunity for himself to get the peel still before leaving it to it straight.
Right. I don't recommend this, but that's me, and I'm not Ben. Yeah. So he's manufactured a peel temp on the way to 10.
I think it's sensible, yeah. I think it's sensible. I think this is a good play. One that I'd not spotted, but I think this should actually probably be the standard thing to try now I think about it. Ben has given these tactics a great deal more thought than most of us with writing the book. And it, you're seeing it play out here. The better tactics are creating opportunities that sometimes others of us are not spotting immediately.
Anyway, Patty and Ben wrote this section and didn't recommend what you're suggesting or what he's doing, but we should probably add it. It's certainly possible. And I think his argument is that, he's adding an escape to 4 back. It depends what you like. Are you comfortable with the straight rover or not? If you see that as risky or uncomfortable, this makes real sense. Anyway, he is going to hit red. Red is the reception ball. So the second ball is black. And the third ball is yellow. Okay, but if he makes this with black and not go to yellow, he'll come out of there, hit black, rush yellow over, and can have red to escape to 10. That's the strategy, right? This is Wiley's rush over and peel. It's pretty. I still wouldn't do it. Doing it differently.
What did you think he was going to do?
I thought he would. I maybe got this totally wrong. I thought he was going to make 9 with black, which lets him send black someplace and get to yellow. All right.
Yeah. So this is why this is a sensible tactic: is that he gets that free go at the peel. And he keeps having pioneers nicely at the hoop. So after this, he'll try and rush yellow across, have a free go at the peel. If not, it will end near over. Then he can send red to penultimate, going to black. And the nice thing about the colour order with having them this way round is that after 4 back, of course, he can. It'll be going. He'll be going straight from... he'll be making 4 back off black, and so he'll then be coming down, and he can tweak yellow at rover when going back to red. So he's pretty much guaranteed to be getting the peel. Because he's overrun this slightly, it looks difficult to cut this back. So he's just having a rethink on whether he's going to put it to the middle or something.
So he can do the think here about what does he have to do to get yellow to be the pioneer ball at 12 when he is in position to make hoop 11. That would set up for the straight rover peel. Okay? Well, when he was at hoop 9, yellow was reception with 2 standards. When he's at 11, yellow will be the pioneer, which means he only has to do 2 standards to hold on. I hope that didn't screw up his rhythm.
So it looks very likely that we're going to get the joy of colour order AC pegged out game, TPO game. So Howard's asking, where does red go to now? It's going to penultimate. As he goes to black after the hoop, he'll come down and adjust yellow to very nicely in front of the hoop as he goes back to the red ball.
And what's interesting is that if he makes 4 back with black, which he will, he is forced to go to yellow, even if yellow is in perfect position. He wants to anyway. He wants to get black down there. Because he'd like to make rover going from red to black and then to yellow. But then we need to talk about the peg out, because that needs to be in the same order. We'd like yellow to be the 3rd ball, the equivalent of the pioneer for the peg, for the peg out.
Yeah, and that's one of the nice things again about colour order AC, is it just makes you have to play that bit more precisely and think more precisely towards the end of the turn. When you run rover, to get a decent leave out if he's going to keep 2 balls on the lawn, then you need to give that a bit more thought. Now, I'm very much hoping that Ben will keep his 2 balls on the lawn. But of course he may judge that he's the better shot and that taking 2 balls off might really favour him. So if he were to peg 2 balls off, then of course we would enter a pretty normal AC game, with the one exception about 4 back, whether he gives contact.
So interesting for me is where he put black. I'm not quite sure that was intentional, and where he wants yellow, because he's still is going to have to hit yellow. And so he wants him to be in peel position after he's been hit. A rocade gently. And he's going to be coming from black to yellow. So it actually looks like he moved yellow a teeny bit out of position, so he can then move him back to position. Okay, so now we're talking about the peg out. We need to do a repeat procedure here to set up for the peg out. So red, which is pioneer, will go to reception and will be in Howard's favorite position, Hopefully people won't call it that in the future, but the favored position. How about that? Much better. Where red will be reception, and reception will come to reception, i.e. south of rover. He'll go to black. Black will go from pivot to pivot. And yellow will be peeled, but such that he doesn't have to hit it, and he can hit it third after scoring the rover hoop. And as Pete said, the question is, what's Ben going to do? Is he going to peg himself out? Or is he going to leave the balls on the lawn? There's not much real estate there to get it to reception. If he would hit yellow with red here, that would be a disaster.
Yeah, so Ben's putting red out quite wide in order to be safe from it hitting black or yellow. On these flat lawns, I would have thought he could thread that needle, but he's decided to be ultra safe. So, yeah, he's still very good shot. He'll still be able to hit red straight after the hoop, of course, and he doesn't care where he leaves red really in the middle of the lawn. So he's got the balls in a kind of ideal position. But you'll note, experienced players, if any experienced players are watching this, then they'll know that it's not very nice having to rush a ball away to the boundary and then take off back to get a rush on the ball to the peg. So again, in a way, that somewhat favours Ben pegging out two balls, which would be a shame for us as spectators and for you as viewers of Colour Order AC, because there are some nice sort of extra tactics in terms of the two ball player. If they're a long way away from the single ball player's hoop, then there's this really strong emphasis on which ball the single ball player can hit on their shot, because if they hit one ball, in this case he'll be pegging out yellow. So if red were to hit black, then it won't be able to make use of yellow, and so it can't then make use of blue. Whereas if red hits blue, then it will be able to make use of black. I'm hoping we'll be able to see this all play out shortly. But we'll find out.
Alright, straight rover. Ben checks both sides. I personally get dizzy lying on the ground like that. And I have a different way of doing it where I lay my mallet down on the edge of the two balls and come back on this side, and you can see very clearly where they're aimed. And I'm told it's legal, as long as I pick up my mallet, which I do to hit my shot. Alright, here we go. Really pretty. Okay. Yellow's rushable to the peg. It's deep enough and a little enough to the west. So I don't think he's thinking bombard. It really doesn't matter much what he does with red. Red's going to be the remaining opponent ball, presuming we get the peg out. And he'll have contact because Ben made 4-back this turn. So what's interesting, well, that's not wonderful, but is he going to rush it off and take off back to yellow? Oi! All right. So I think the key shot of the game is this next shot. Ben's goal is to take off because he's positioned black where he wants him, i.e. off the lawn. He's got to peg out yellow now, and then he can shoot blue anywhere he wants. It's a little long. Not a disaster, but... So which way would you cut him? Hit it straight and miss the hoop, or cut him to the left? I think Ben's going to try to hit it straight. Oof. Yeah, exactly. Sorry you overheard me. Oh, you can't take advice, Ben. Okay, the peg out is not trivial, guys. So I think he's trying to think where he puts blue after the peg out. I personally get the peg out done and worry about it because it can go anywhere basically unless he's worried about hitting red.
And of course, Stephen is very likely to take croquet from blue because that way he can use blue and black. So that can influence the position of the balls a bit when Ben has the opportunity to have placed them. So it's nice that he's got black so close to corner 4, so far away from Stephen's hoop. If for instance he left blue halfway up that same boundary or level with hoop 6 off the lawn there, then Stephen would have to go from blue down to black to corner 4, whereas if he put the other balls the other way around, then Stephen could roll the ball from corner 4 up to the other ball and then be approaching hoop 2 from closer. But pretty crucial, of course, that Ben manages to peg out yellow here.
Yes.
And fantastically, Ben is keeping blue on the lawn, which was just what we wanted. So it looks like he's going to corner 1. And I would expect Stephen to lift red immediately over to blue. Oh, he's decided he doesn't have a sensible backswing to get where he wants. He really needs this in the corner, otherwise Stephen gets a rush to black or a rush towards his hoop. He looks almost jumping. It's quite a dangerous corner to go to, but I guess the same would apply with.
Isn't that giving him, Jamie? Don't you think that's giving him hoop 1 at least?
He's for hoop 2.
Right.
So
Sorry,
you know, he's definitely not giving him anything, but it gives him the opportunity to. I mean, in this situation, it's always hard to get going, but he has the colour order, if he so wishes, to send blue north, going to black, and potentially having a ludicrously hard break. But also, the roll out of corner 1 to hoop 2 is in a straight line. So lots of people would prefer that over a roll out of corner 3, which plays across the hoop. So you have to get the weight just right.
I also thought if I was in corner 3, took off and got going for 2 hoops, he could get blue in corner 2 after 3. Whereas if he left blue behind here, I don't know when's he hitting that, after 2 back? This goes.
Yeah. Pete will do it, or Ben, you can do it.
So on the one hand, I thought about sending blue out to corner 3, but the peg out was perfectly lined up with the peg in between me and the corner, so I didn't want to play a split peg out. If I had to play a split peg out, then I could have got corner 3. But I also thought if I was out in corner 3 and he got a rush on black to 2, after 3 he could turn around and hit blue and have a go at the 3 ball.
You gotta go finish.
So here we've got an example where Stephen.
Running many 3-ball breaks.
Finish on the 3 ball.
Well, Stephen has just missed black, so Ben will of course play black. But
in contact, though?
are they in contact? So Ben taking croquet from red means that he can't then take croquet from yellow, and so he can't actually then make use of blue. So if blue are in the middle of the lawn right now, Ben wouldn't be able to take croquet from red and then move it out of the lawn apart from with a scatter shot.
Doesn't it also mean that he will contact red and therefore be responsible for red's position? Whereas if they were separate, he could just shoot the partner and leave red responsible for his own position. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's true. And am I right in thinking that these laws are such that he could just play away from red without being responsible for its position?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. No, he can do that. But I'm just saying, if he wants to go to blue, which he may, I don't know. If he doesn't want to go to blue, then that's fine. If he wants to go to blue, he's going to move black so that he does a takeoff on red, and therefore will have been responsible for red.
Of course, the real disaster is to choose to not use red and to go back to blue, but accidentally clip red with the side of his mallet after the stroke, being a fault, and the balls go back, giving Stephen the use of black. But of course, having done so, you might think that's an utter disaster, but it would mean that Stephen, taking croquet from black, couldn't then make use of blue until after the hoop. So it's
Welcome to color order.
now, normally at the top level with AC after a TPO, it's all about who gets the first 3-ball break in this sort of position. And that can still be crucial, but 3-ball breaks are much more difficult with this game because you have this load and hold kind of idea all the time, where you make a hoop and you want to have hit the other ball that you use from that which you use to approach the hoop. So there tend to be more deliberate stop shot approaches to hoops from somewhat greater distance, even with full control of the balls.
So I presume red has a shot on blue, and that we're looking for a wired position for black from red. Is that right?
Yeah. It looks. Yeah, he's as Jamie has spotted. He's going to be shooting at blue, whatever, because I don't think Ben's quite thought through the fact that even if black is open, Stephen's unlikely.
What does it do for Stephen? Because there's
Yeah.
no yellow.
Yeah, he wouldn't be. In fact,
So he could go to position right now.
well, so I don't want Ben to be able to hear me, but basically, it would be better for Ben to leave himself deliberately open and give Stephen the opportunity to make the error of shooting for black,
Right.
because black could then potentially make use of him.
Before or after the hoop, if he goes to position.
Yeah.
Right now.
You're done. It doesn't matter though, because this is worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
So Stephen will presumably shoot through blue. Unlikely to hit at this range, but if he hits it, he's near his hoop. And he can choose to approach it, probably trying to get a rush across to hoop 3, given the relative proximity, the far distance of black from hoop 3. And now he gives Ben the choice of that stroke, which he'd be very likely to hit, but he's missed a couple that we wouldn't normally expect to see Ben miss today. And it's with his peg ball, of course. So now, this is an opportunity to think about which side of black he should go if he doesn't fancy just immediately hitting red. And if you think about it from red's perspective, imagine that red were to hit in. Which ball would he prefer to hit? Well, of course, it would be blue. So that means that Ben can afford to shoot at black if he chooses, so long as he knows that he would be able to hit blue easily with black afterwards. Because with all the balls on the boundary, it means that Stephen will just have a single ball shot at black if he chooses to take it. If he hits it, then he would then have to roll off hoop 2. If he misses it, then black has a rush on blue to red. Red might be in the corner, so he might be able to have a corner 1 cannon, for instance. But Stephen's decided to shoot immediately. Jamie's given it the nod of approval. Yeah, Jamie likes shooting in these situations. No need to complicate matters with extra thought. Very close.
Still happy to hit black and have a roll up.
Yeah.
You come over. Your rest.
Jamie's very comfortable with the roll-ups on these lawns, and he's played some good 2 and 3 ball breaks around this event.
Yeah, when the lawns are as lovely and smooth and quick as these, what would be difficult roll-ups ordinarily become a little bit easier because you don't have to put quite so much effort into the actual physical stroke. But also shooting in this.
Describe how the 3-ball break works here, if you don't mind, because I
Of
don't
course.
think they realize what you're trying to do.
So Stephen has shot at Ben's ball, giving Ben all 3 balls. But in order for Ben to get a break going, he's always going to have to roquet blue after the hoop and make the hoop. Sorry, plane going over. And make the hoop off red. So in order to get a break, you have to play repeat load and holds for every hoop. So you're always hitting partner, in this instance, after the hoop.
So is he going to run 2 balls, or is he going to run 3?
So Ben is,
If you were running 3, he'd send blue to reception now.
yeah.
To red.
So it looks very much like Ben is going to probably make 1 hoop and have a leave.
So here we can see an example where Ben has chosen to make hoop 1 off red. And what that means is that after the hoop, he's presumably going to be hitting red next. And once he's hit red, he doesn't get the opportunity to hit blue because he doesn't have yellow in sequence. So having done this, Ben has locked himself in basically for the entire turn to only making use of red. Now he wouldn't have done that if these balls were the other way round and he was currently making hoop 1 off partner off the blue ball, then he wouldn't be locked into that sequence. He could make a couple of hoops with blue and then he could come back to red and make use of red. But because there isn't a way back to blue unless he does it straight after this hoop, then until he gets to 2 back on a 2-ball break, when he could run 2 back and hit partner finally, he will be stuck with only making use of red in this turn. So there are sort of interesting choices to make. So a minute ago when Ben was thinking about how to make hoop 1, there was a real decision there for the entirety of this turn, as opposed to just how do I make the next 2 or 3 hoops.
Yeah. So I suspect if I was playing that turn from the beginning, I would have sent blue just north of hoop 1, hit red in corner 1 and sent red up to hoop 2. So blue would have been my reception ball and I could have continued my break. Ben obviously came to the conclusion that he wasn't going to make more than 1 hoop.
So it looks like for a while Ben is content to make 1 hoop at a time.
So we could have some nice cat and mouse play coming up, in other words, where Ben will just make 1 hoop at a time for a while. Hoop 2, of course, is the most tricky one for him because that's red's hoop, so that's the most dangerous one for Ben to be making. So he's currently sending red a long way away, and then he'll be going back to blue. We'll see the same thing over and over, that ideally Ben would be leaving the balls where in positions where red can only hit black, because that way red won't be able to make use of blue, and if blue is behind red's game as it currently is, then that would mean that it would be Stephen that would be locked into the 2-ball breaks until he got to 2-back, for instance, and was able to pick up that 3rd ball at last. So there's a really, really strong emphasis in this game on which ball can be hit, which ball can be played, and for the 2-ball player, which sequence they're going to make use of the balls. Oh, so Ben here is being rather defensive. Do we know if red and blue are open? Red and blue are open. But Ben has decided not to go back to. I find that somewhat surprising, but surely here he's given Stephen the opportunity to come halfway between blue and black, or a little bit closer to black, given the emphasis. He might come, for instance, 9 yards away from blue towards black, and he leaves himself a much shorter shot to potentially be rolling off. Oh no, he's shooting. Oh, he's shooting at blue. Okay. Well, obviously I don't really understand this game. What's going on? Perhaps he's got something in mind. And he hit something blue, but it was the blue hoop rather than the blue ball. Of course, it's a very safe shot, shooting at blue. Ben doesn't look particularly keen on this 5-yarder, and I can't say I blame him. So blue looks like it's choosing a thin wired spot from red. So this would need to be accurate. He knows that going by the stroke that Stephen's just chosen to play, he kind of knows that if he leaves blue open, then red will be shooting at blue and then potentially trying to get a rush on black. Interesting choices being made at the moment. Of course, it's quite difficult to find a nice wide. Oh, he's decided on the 5-yarder after all. He's decided that the wiring position was not conducive, and is close to having centre balled that. And that's the Ben that we know. Back to the usual Ben, hitting the ball in a nice straight line and making the game look easy. I can only dream of hitting the ball so consistently straight. Jamie's disgusted that he's not hit it perfectly in the middle. So he's taken off to black here, gets the opportunity to use black, of course, and the frustration for Ben is, so firstly he's going to leave the balls, of course, so that red will only have a shot at black. He needs to leave a ball open because he's made use of red, so red won't get a lift. So he needs to leave a ball open, and he will make that ball a black ball, so that having hit black, if red were to shoot and manage to hit, then he wouldn't be able to make use of blue. Now, how does he do this and still give black something of use? Well, the normal thing would be for him to leave black open and blue either on the other side of black, so that black is protecting blue, or or blue wired through the hoop. And often in this game, it's leaving the ball wired through the hoop that allows black to have the rush out into lawn where he wants it. But of course, from black's perspective, what this means is he'll be rushing blue away without having made use of red. Because if he made use of red, then he won't get to use blue afterwards. So it's a very safe shot still for Stephen to take. So it can free up the single ball to take more shots. So there's an advantage there for the single ball player. But of course the fact that Ben can leave things so that having hit in, he can't then make use of the other ball is a disadvantage for the single ball player. So there are pros and cons that make this still a very interesting game, and it's still somewhat unclear to us which one it really advantages. I think different players have got slightly different views at the moment. But it's different, it's fun to think about, and we're gradually discovering complications as we go. It's just occurred to Ben that he should have left the ball on the lawn. By leaving the balls on the boundary, Ben has kind of made an error there, because black doesn't want to hit red, right? If it hits red, then it can't make use of blue. So if he doesn't have a backswing to hit blue, then he's in trouble. And interestingly, if Stephen had missed black on the left, then black would be stymied from hitting blue because all the balls would be on the boundary. So there's a lot more finessing, in a way, that gets called for in this game, with leaving balls just deliberately off the boundary. Although you also often want the situation where the single ball has only a single ball target to shoot at, and that's often easiest by leaving balls on the boundary. So to be deliberately leaving balls just off the boundary but in a straight line with another ball that's on the boundary, it introduces potential for complications and also for cunning positions. So in that position, for instance, was Stephen really best off shooting at a ball near corner 4 where he then has to roll off hoop 2? Or would he be better shooting between those balls, which I'm sure he could have achieved, stymieing Ben from making use of those balls? If he'd done that, then Ben would basically have to play blue, presumably. And so blue would then hit red, so red is going to get another shot again. He needs to move the other balls apart, and so he then has options of whether he stops the ball away and goes back to black without making use of it, or whether he rushes black away. Well, if he rushes black away, then he's immediately given Stephen some kind of opportunity of a shot where the balls aren't stuck away in corner 4, where they're going to, by definition, be closer to his hoop 2. So there are some nice sort of tactical things already emerging in this game. So sometimes it's worth laying out behind a hoop rather than to the side of a hoop, so that the ball that shoots will be shooting to behind the hoop, and that way you can run through the hoop and hit that ball rather than making use of it immediately. So in this case, it looks like he's going to be giving Stephen a shot. It will be a little bit longer this way, slightly longer, but it will be shooting into corner 2. And then the question is that preferable to... Oh, he's... it looks like he's trying the hoop. Well, this is somewhat exciting. Lovely hoop. Big round of applause there from the gallery, and he's gained a point. Of course, at some point Ben may choose to peg out blue, and then we're back into normal AC. At what point should he choose to do that? Well, it depends a lot on how he feels about his single ball play compared with Stevens. But it's nice to have at least seen some of this colour order AC following the TPA by Ben. And of course it may not occur to Ben for a little while. Sometimes it, in these sort of situations, sometimes you can get a bit mentally locked into how you get that back ball around, and you don't always remember, oh, I'm enough hoops ahead now to sensibly peg out a ball. So it'd be interesting to see at what point Ben might choose to peg out blue if Stephen doesn't head in and get going at some point.
I don't think he's going to. I think he's just going to give himself a rush to 3 and be happy making single hoops, forcing Stephen to shoot. Eventually the one ball team is going to shoot.
Yeah.
But the one ball team also still gets lifts. One back is raw and 4 back is contact no matter what.
He must be confident of landing this because he's leaving the balls close to 2. Yeah, and of course on these lovely flat lawns, if you wire the balls, it's very difficult to find any hills to gently hill round onto target. Whereas on most lawns, this kind of thing can almost be more risky. Although on this surface, it's easier to get the wiring.
Is that a double for red?
I think he's put that so that hoop 4 is in the way. That's why he's rolled them to there. Because he hasn't made use of red, right, in this turn. Oh. A good effort there to find some hill from Stephen.
I think he ignores red, doesn't he? And just goes to make his hoop.
Yeah, it looks very likely that he'll ignore red here. He can't hit red and stop it out, getting a rush on blue. And if he uses blue, then he'd be rushing red across, leaving blue near red's hoop. So in this case, Ben will ignore red for the moment. Rush over to his hoop, and then if he didn't get, if that wasn't such a nice rush, he might look around at wiring spots and so on. But I think he can just enjoy a 2-ball break for a moment. Now that he's playing blue, He does have the opportunity to go to red at some point. So he could, for instance, make hoop 5 and then rush across to red, or hoop 6 and rush across to red, and start on a 3-ball break if he keeps going with his 2-ball break.
Get it up. 7. Away to 7. Runs out to the boundary.
So he's playing beautifully. He's still got choices of whether to rush to his next hoop or to red. He's going up to 6 at the moment, which is the same as I would choose, but after 6 he may choose to rush across to red. That'll be interesting. Or he may continue to just play a 2-ball break and think no, he'd prefer to be able to just lay up wired. But of course he will still be giving a lift to red once he's made 1 back.
Balk lift.
Yeah, a lift of red to balk. So there's good opportunity to make use of red. I think he'll just rush to 6 on this stroke.
So now, do you set up to red?
I think that I would. Yeah, I think he's. But the question is whether you try to stop blue down towards 2 back. You know, do you go somewhere near corner 2, or where do you rush blue to ideally on this stroke if you are going to red? No worries.
You want to run the break. You want blue to be reception. Going to red, right? Move red down to 2 back.
Well, that's true, but it's highly risky, of course. So Howard's pointing out that if you want the 3-ball break, as opposed to just doing it for 1 hoop, then you need to be hitting blue after 1 back. Yeah, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to send blue down to 2 back in that sense. So yeah, that's interesting position. Given that he will be giving a lift.
He'll be giving a balk lift if he chooses not to make 7, and he'd have blue in front, right, where he wants him, and goes to red, tries to get the load and hold. If he gets it, takes the hoop and gives the lift, and hopefully continues with the 3-ball break. Let's see.
Yeah, I can see encouragement to just keep playing the 2-ball break. If he had a nice rush at the moment to 1 back, but he's overhit that slightly, so he could even try and rush blue down to south of 1. And he could take off back to red and even just play a takeoff to his hoop and try and run it hard down the boundary if he landed in position. If not, he could just run away, lay up, or even run away to corner 4 would mean that red would gain very little. Lots of choices, and you've got to keep getting yourself out of normal AC thinking with this kind of strategizing. Oh, he looked like he was trying to take my option of rushing that south of 1, which I liked. Now, of course, he's not used red on this turn. He may have had a different plan in mind. He may have just been trying to rush that down south of 1 and lay up and not even go to red, which would also seem like quite a good plan. So he can wire the balls. So it looks like he's running away towards wired position through hoop 4. But because that's fairly close to the line of red, there's a bit of a risk. There's a potential for hitting hoop 4, I would have thought, on this stroke. He's got to go very close to it if he's going to get wired. But the key thing again is that he wants to leave the balls so that red can't hit blue. If red can hit blue, then leaving the balls together can potentially give Stephen a rush back
and
to
a chance to
hoop
try
2.
to run the 3-ball break himself. Right. So this is the conservative play. He didn't get what he wanted, so he doesn't press it. I mean, pressing it would be going to red, load and holding red to 2, but then even if you get position, you're not going to hit blue, so it's unless you're going to roll it back.
So the 5 hoops on the 2-ball break show not only the quality of Ben's play, but also the ease of the conditions. Played very nicely. These hoops are well set, but they're in soft ground, so they don't feel threatening. And he's put blue a long way away there. He's sent it straight off the lawn. Maybe he looks happy with that. I think that was a deliberate play. I think he'd worked out that that the corner spot was a wired position from red.
Okay.
If that's the case, then right.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ben's just confirmed that with glee.
Here comes red.
And that looks close. Oof. So now Ben he's spotted the potential that he can just play blue and peg out. And of course he can send black up there and try and land it in front of his hoop, and doing so leaving red an awfully long way away.
Still get his lifts. All right.
Yeah, red will still get lifts,
Black
and red will also get a contact when Ben makes 4 back because of an
Correct.
additional rule in these laws to encourage peeling. So
Ben is guessing that a 5-hoop or 6-hoop lead in a 1-ball game is enough, even though you still give 2 lifts and get none. That's the trade-off here.
So it still gives Stephen a little bit more opportunity than he would get if this were normal AC due to the extra contact rather than just a lift after 4 back.
He definitely wanted the rush on black to 7, right? His hoop. Didn't get it.
Well, there were choices here, so some people would try to rush it up there with the idea that they might even manage to get the peel whilst going to the peg. Other people would say, no, the odds of that are too slim, and it's easy to rush it to places where you can't then get it nicely in front of the hoop whilst going to the peg. So I actually prefer this play of being able to play a croquet stroke, putting black in front of its hoop and going to the peg to peg out. I think it ensures that you peg out, and I think it gives black very decent chances. I'd have just wanted to rush closer to the peg basically to make this stroke a shorter one.
So the entire focus on that shot was black. And not quite, I don't think. And the entire focus of this shot is pegging out blue. All right, so this now switches to a 1-ball game. Not yet. Not yet. It's very different now.
Now the color order thing kind of disappears.
Right, right. Except for the
Give 'em
lit.
contact.
Except and balk. And balk.
But if I do 2 balls to the peg here, then I don't have to give him any lifts.
So Ben's going to hit red.
Yeah, so Ben will have been disappointed with his previous stroke, not only getting black not in front of the hoop, but also leaving himself this long shot because he'd have known that Stephen would be taking this shot.
Exactly. So he should have put black long. And if it's
Yeah.
position, great.
Ideally, on the long side, but of course Ben really didn't want to send blue off the lawn, black off the lawn whilst going to the peg, because that would give Stephen a shot at the ball near the peg with black that he could then use up at his hoop. So, well, when you can shoot like Ben, it's he makes the game look easy in a way that I don't with these sort of shots.
So he's for 1 back.
Yeah, so he's going to stop red nicely down the lawn.
Sort of peg high-ish going to position. What do you think? Or less than that? Where would you put it?
Well,
You like it
so
sort of.
Howard's peg high. A lot of players would choose either longer or shorter than that.
What do you like?
But for people with a good stop shot, I think they should punt it right down near 2 back. I think that is Ben's natural shot. He's not very good at stop shots, so he's sent red a decent distance, and he's given himself a forward rush.
Nice.
So he's given a lift, of course, so missing red would be bad. What's this, a 7-yarder or so? 8-yarder maybe, 7.5.
Good enough for government work, right?
I'd take it.
Do you roll red or take off?
Well, a lot of players would play this so that it will be just a little bit off the boundary, and that way you can run the hoop hard and know that you've got some kind of rush across the 3
So you
back.
roll.
Yeah, yeah, split roll.
Because if you run it hard, you can then get the rush to 9. So I should reintroduce Pete Trimmer as the author of the definitive study on 2-on-1 and 1-on-1, which appeared in pamphlet form for years and got polished and put into his book, Beyond Expert Croquet Tactics. So we have the world's best source of information on what's going on.
That's very kind, Howard. I wish that felt true. I've gained greatly from the top players over the years, numerous top players, and formalising what they've taught me has been a joy. If you're listening to me commentate on this, or listening to a Fulford or someone, then I think I may not seem like such a definitive source.
Nonsense. Jesus. That allows him to send red reasonably deep if he can hold position at 9. Now remember, Steve Forster is no slouch when it comes to 2-ball breaks. Okay? So if Steven gets in, we could see a dramatic turnaround. So it ain't over. Although hopefully this hoop is over.
So Ben's obviously playing really well here. And it's starting to look like he's going to make 1 back and 4 back in the same turn. Now normally, with normal AC... Oof, he's given himself a tricky one now. Now normally with AC, you give a lift at 1 back, and then you give a lift at 4 back, and if you run them both with your first ball, then you'd give contact. In this case, in this game, after 4 back, if you make 4 back alone, then you give a contact. So, no matter what. So, unless you're the one that's the single ball player. But I think that's right. But in this case, Ben is already giving a lift, and so the question then is, well, what happens when he then also runs 4 back? That gives a contact. Well, it remains as a contact. So it's very nice for Ben if he were able to hit red here. It looks like he's going to have to go away, so we won't see it. But if he had been able to hit red, he'd made 4 back, the answer would be he would be given a contact. And that contact would have nothing to do with the fact that he'd run 1 back. But this way, of course, he's running away. This means that he's giving Stephen a lift. Hopefully Stephen will remember that fact. But then when Ben makes 4 back, at whatever stage, Stephen will get a contact.
I can't fathom Stephen not remembering his lift. And if so, he'll pick up and come to... Is he just going to go to position? He may, because Ben is going for 9, which is also 3. So if Steve is in position to make 2 and Ben shoots to 10, that's a real mistake by Ben. So this is an important shot. He wants position here, which he gets. Now what does Ben do?
Stephen showing his touch again there. Well, both playing really well. This the final that was deserved, and it's nice to see the players with slightly different qualities come into the fore. So Ben, I think Ben was trying to take position. Oof, and he nearly landed in the jaws. Now, it may even be that Stephen can run this and be in a position where if he misses black might be wired from it through the hoop. That's difficult to tell from here. really wanted to at least be in the jaws there. That is unfortunate.
He's going to check out red's position to see
Yeah.
if he can shoot at black. If black goes to position 10.
Well, I think even if it can, then he will take. I think Ben will take position.
It won't get better. It's not
Yeah,
gonna get
and I think it looks to me like red is on the wire in a way that red is really in a horrible position. Won't be able to shoot at black. Won't be able to even get in the jaws of his hoop.
Okay.
So I think red will have to just touch his ball in front of the hoop. Oh, no, he's well. In that case, he's got the option of the hoop or black if he's looking at that, and he's made it. Oh, my eyes were deceived by the distance. Yeah, yeah. As Howard says, big shot coming up here. It's getting pretty crucial for Stephen. Oof. That would have been a nice one.
That would have been a wonderful play. But now, Ben will definitely take this. But he's giving contact. So he can't go set up at penult.
It encourages Ben to shoot at red,
Why
the
not?
fact that he's giving contact. But because this is also red's hoop, it's pretty risky. So I would imagine that if this weren't red's hoop, Ben would probably shoot at red here because he doesn't want to give contact. Whereas, so having run the hoop, he's probably now going to do something like shoot into corner 4, or if he really was confident of his shooting, he could shoot into corner 1, or he could go a few yards, 6 or 7 yards up the boundary from corner 1, somewhere where he thinks is very difficult to approach hoop 3 from.
This is the conservative way to play it. The aggressive way is to shoot at red. Okay, so red will use his contact. Ben will run and get his ball and mark it in, and Stephen will get his ball and go over to, or will he? Will he go over?
Well,
Does he
so
shoot to position?
no, red will definitely make use of black. Now, I would imagine if he's remembered his contact, and it's looking like he might not have, but if he's remembered that he's got a contact, then I would imagine that Stephen would just take the contact. Whereas if it was someone like Ben with their confident shooting, how good he's remembered, then it might be worth shooting up the boundary if you're confident of hitting that length to move the ball closer to 3.
I just thought he might put red in position wired from black.
Would have
And-
been a good time to make that hoop as we're videoing. Had to go at penult, which I probably wouldn't have in other circumstance, but it missed to a nice spot. Even if it clubbed off the hoop, it wasn't going to be at 3.
You
or
were
anything.
aiming for penult?
Yeah, I was trying to score the hoop.
Okay.
Because the miss put me in a totally reasonable defensive position. If I hit the hoop, it didn't give him everything.
Then why didn't you shoot
Wow.
I didn't want to miss and give him everything.
I'm not
I
sure.
want to give him a ball at his hoop.
Okay.
If I bang off penalt, so long as I don't
Here.
bang off to a perfect rush from Abok, it was, hopefully not going to give him a whole lot. But missing him would either give him an easy roque and a chance to, run the 2-ball, or if I made the hoop and missed him, at least it would have, it
Advanced
would
you
have
a hoop.
been a better contact than where I ended up.
Okay.
I guess that's
So
because
Ben's surprised me there by saying that he was actually shooting at penult, trying to run it, which, given the odds of hitting the hoop and bouncing, just a few feet away, giving red contact that far closer to his hoop, I'm surprised that Ben...
Does he shoot?
likes that tactic. So Howard's now shooting, asking whether Ben needs to shoot. I don't think that Ben should shoot, because shooting is one of the few ways that gets Stephen back into the game at this point. He's given all his lifts and contacts. He's got his many hoops ahead. If he misses red, then red can turn around and hit him, and he's got the best possible 2-ball break chance. So instead, Ben's going to corner 2, or possibly he could even go somewhere that was kind of wide from... My word, he's gone to position. This is really aggressive. It's as though he's... he hasn't got a flight to catch, has he? Does Ben have a flight to catch? This is the way of speeding up the game. And so Stephen staggered through the hoop, and he's going to hit Ben in corner 2. No, he's going to hit Ben just 8 yards away. So, well, it's 7 from line of one hoop to the next, so it's about just over 8 yards, I guess. And lovely stroke.
That was an expensive mistake by Ben.
I think Ben has started to feel very confident now and is playing to the crowd a little bit with taking on some more risky things, which is nice to see, I've got to say. Occasionally Ben is known for being a bit of a winning machine, for taking plays that are just the most effective, and I think he's playing to the crowd a little bit now, making the game more interesting for us. Lovely stroke again, good touch by Stephen. This is a long old hoop. 3 yards. Oh, throw it again. Oh no. That's a shame. But Ben will now take position, I imagine, at penult, or attempt to.
And Ben's not responsible for red, so we can go to position.
And as Howard says, if you're able to hear that, Ben won't be responsible of red yet, so Ben's really wanting to finish this. He's taking the shot at red. I don't think he'd be doing this in a World's final. Yeah. But he is very confident of his shooting. And rightly so.
Yeah, right.
Ben's really attempted to dominate this game now with his recent tactics.
He can't put red at 5. That's his hoop. Yeah, he's going to take off.
Yeah, I imagine he'll take off, try and run the hoop down to Rover. If he runs Rover, he might even try and get flash and hit red again. And that's going to be a long hoop, I think. Oh no, he's gone past the wrong side of it.
So he can just set up.
Yeah, you can just set up for the hoop if he doesn't like the look of it. Yeah. So he's leaving it open for red, of course.
Yeah, because he hit red.
And with him in front of the hoop, which he will presumably land this spot, then there's no point in Stephen just taking position at 5. And that looks fine, so Stephen will be forced into shooting at this.
He can't take a position at 5 because Ben can run it down to the red ball and finish.
So we're kind of expecting, under normal circumstances, that Stephen will get kind of one more shot after this, because Ben ought to be able to run that hoop and take good position at Rover, effectively forcing Stephen to shoot as Stephen's only opportunity then for a 2-ball break. with it being Stephen's heap as well. But then Ben will be able to run Rover, hit red and finish. So it will really be down to this. Well, he certainly ran that one. Let's see how well he can take position at Rover here.
I like the fact that Stephen's already moving toward his ball. He's kept this moving literally. Shows a really good, experienced player. And I guess he's been at it for 40 years, right? So.
The crowd's urging red to hit yellow, to hit black. There's a bit of a crosswind. Do or die time. Oh, beautiful. Crowd goes wild. That's what the crowd wanted.
So, the good thing now for Stephen is that he can make one back, he can make four back. Black gets no lifts. And that's the price black pays for having pegged out yellow. So, if Stephen can run a 7-hoop break, he can win.
This is tricky. Oh, lovely. You'd never think that was tricky looking at Stephen's body language. A lot of people there would have run the hoop, given big shrugs, shaking of the head, looking down the line, squinting at it, re-stalking it. None of that with Stephen. Just calmly walks up to it. He knows the line, he plays it. Very impressive.
Yeah, when he put black in position to run to 7, of course. Walks back, stalks it, takes its practice swing, steps up, side saddle, and rushes it over. Now he's going to send it not that far in front of, maybe 10 yards? 7 yards? He's got to make the hoop.
I suspect some of the lesser experienced players sat around watching this new game, Colour Order AC, right now are thinking, I don't see much difference in the rules, but somehow the game looks a lot easier. Yeah, this is a big old roll. Made that look easy. I think he's started to enjoy it now. He knows he's played well in this final. He knows he's got an opportunity. He's played well all week. He might be a little hampered on his backswing here with that side style. No, it's fine. Still going. Well, it's getting exciting now because even just making one more hoop, being for penult when your opponent's for rover, is a nice position. So if he can make this with a rush across to penult, then it swings in Stephen's favour.
Looks good.
He's kept black on the lawn.
Yeah. And he can rush it to the boundary. He's checking to see if black needs to be marked in, which he does. Technically, you have to mark it in before the shot, right?
Yep.
What if you don't? What's the rule?
Play him when a ball is misplaced, I guess. I'd have to look it up. Wow, there we go. So both balls on the boundary. Just wants to. Yeah, he could have tried to run that to within the yard line if he chose, but I think this is a sensible option given that it wasn't a trivial hoop. See how close he can cut this in front of penult. Playing beautifully. You can see why he's reached the final. Oh, he's undercut that, I think. It would be a shame if he got confused about which hoop he was from. I don't think he has. I think Ben's feeling optimistic that he might think that he was for one back again. This is not trivial. Ooh, it's a bit short. Oh, well, I think he's got second prize of.
Is he wire from what? Huh? He gets a lift. Ben gets the only type of lift he can get, which is a wire ring lift.
He might be in a very nice position that he's actually stopped, where it doesn't trivially rush down to rover, but where he can actually run the hoop and potentially run the hoop hard down the lawn if he chooses. If so, then he's, given that he was stopping, then he's stopped in the ideal position.
Is he going to send red back?
He may choose to shoot at red from where it is, but no, don't think any of the ball was poking through the hoop, so then the question is where you shoot at this from. I think shooting from an angle is sensible because it stops red just running it down to black or to rover and then down to the ball.
This makes total sense. No, because what can he do with it? If he misses, red makes that, but then what?
I'd tend to bet on Ben hitting this, but it looks like he might just end up with red in the jaws, for instance, which would be pretty ugly for Ben. So he wants to bounce this out, if anything. Oh, he's missed it. That lovely turn from Stephen, of course, didn't come from Ben being aggressive, and not directly. It was after Ben had played a tactic that any top player would play in that situation when they're trying to win. But Ben had previously given Stephen a potential couple of chances with aggressive play. So if you give people enough chances, sometimes they'll take one.
Does he just draws?
He could just draws the ball. It looks like that's what he's thinking about. It's difficult to know without really seeing the position of the balls. No, he's coming down to rover, and he's given himself chances. Even if he even if this just finishes in the jaws, then It's very tough on Ben. Ooh, I think he just snatched that little. It wasn't quite the usual Stephen flow.
So it's 22 to... No, what is the score right now? So they're each 2 off from finishing. 24-24. No. Does Stephen go to position?
There are gasps from the crowd each time Ben's missing. They're not used to seeing it. He's going to get another opportunity in a moment when Stephen's taking position.
Right, because he can take it. This is a free shot for Ben because Steve's not in position.
Stephen doesn't like giving Ben these repeated opportunities, but there's nothing better for him to do at the moment. So here we go. This is the one. This is the one that really counts. Ben knows it. He's taking a longer stalk than usual. The wind's just picking up slightly. If there is such a thing as a second prize for having missed that, Ben got it. He bounced off hoop 1 rather than being dug right into the corner, which leaves him a little closer to the peg, so it just makes it potentially a shorter shot if Stephen has to just leg to the peg after this hoop. And Stephen doesn't have a shot at the peg. He's looked at black, which is amusing.
Is he looking for a wired position at the peg?
Yeah, he'll almost certainly go back to the east, past the east side of Rover to try and get cross-pegged from Ben, I imagine.
Or does he just wire himself right here?
No, because then he leaves himself too long a shot to the peg.
The 7-yarder?
Yeah.
Alright.
The peg's considerably smaller than a ball, and it's easy enough to miss a ball at 7 yards. So he really wants to be sure of hitting that peg.
Okay.
Ben's got something to shoot at, even if it's only part of a ball. I'm not sure how much he's got. Wow. That's an unusual sequence of misses from Ben. That's quite a few shots in a row I've seen him miss. I can't remember that previously for Ben, but he's played magnificently well this week. And if Stephen hits this peg, it's a well-deserved win after that comeback.
What an amazing final.
Great final. Well played, Stephen.
Sex couple, which he's tried. You may try, yeah.
Thank you, Howard.
You're welcome.
Yeah, well, at least this one wasn't worth thousands of dollars.
Well, you made it look easy.
I don't know about easy. Ben is a fantastic player. When he was going around with his 2 balls, I thought, this is it. And then he pegged out. I thought, I've got no hope. So it was just, hit and see if we hit. And yeah, it was fantastic. But I'm actually, sorry, I'm lost for words. But thank you, Ben, for the final. Thank you. It was fantastic. And to you too, Howard, for doing this
Thank you
tournament.
for the play. Utterly amazing. Utterly amazing. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Real quick, on behalf of the players and co-author of the book, I wanted to say thank you so much to Howard Sosin. We have prepared a small gift, a token of our great appreciation of your hospitality, your hundreds of hours spent on this game and this book, and for providing for a wonderful week for all of us here in Florida. So thank you as well to Julie, who also helped with us getting you this gift, because she has helped with literally everything. All right, so thank you, Howard Sosin.
Thank you. It would have meant nothing without these guys. I mean, they came literally knowing everything about croquet and nothing about this game. And they hopefully leave knowing everything about croquet and a lot about this game. And that to me is extremely rewarding, that they would take the time and effort to listen to what Ben and I had to say, adopt it, and improve it. I mean, we can't ask for more. Thank you all. Thank you all.
This is for you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
We would have framed him, but we figured you have better taste than me.
You like the close I do.
Where's the envelope?